So we start with, I'm going to read a few poems from my brand new book, Some Far Country, and then I'll read a few newer poems. And this one's called And Pigs May Fly. I'm boarding my flight home from the heartland, overflowing with hope for humanity and grace of good people I've met. When the red-cheeked man in front of me tries to stuff his oversized duffel into an overhead bin, unremarkable in itself, except the crumpling resistance he's experiencing belongs to the couple beside me, their garment bag with wedding clothes now being squashed to the size of a shriveled carnation. Rather than seek the nearly empty compartment next to theirs, he removes the couple's bag and hands it to them, saying it sure would help him out. Incredulous, she lays their wardrobe's wrinkled remains under the seat in front of her. Not as if this is a big flight either, where individual motives and ordinary desperation can skulk in a stuffed tin turkey of nerves. Just a crop hopper between Columbus and Cleveland. Airborne, I gaze at the farmer's neat patchwork, where once Shawnee sat on bare ground expecting an apology and got the opposite from Mad Anthony Wayne. What will it take, I wonder? A heart attack? Losing someone close? To bring the minutiae miles below into focus? For him to reach for his ripcord and realize he's shoeless with the ground coming up fast? I'm just looking at gate numbers to see where I gotta go. He announces to no one in particular as we taxi to the terminal, as if his were the sole connection, our reason for traveling, to keep him company and his airfare low, smile at his impunity the way one regards a basket of severed hands of Congolese rubber slaves. I unbuckle and haul my own carry-on out from under his seat, the dry aftertaste of contrition like salted nuts on my silent tongue. Why didn't I speak up? I could have said something, or from my vantage plagued him for 45 minutes, imitating with the tip of my pen a reconnoitering fly landing on the white helliport of his head. At the very least, I could have winked. A mute solidarity for the woman next to me and her husband, who, seconds before the cabin door opens, whips out a Playboy and begins reading. This next one's called Wonder. And there's an epigraph by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. There was not even any sound because of the sand. The night before the day you stared God in the eye and God blinked, you became the clock we watched, your hours condensed to a holiness of breath deep in cavernous sleep. Or so we assume until you hear his playing from another room and cock your head, and your own mother goes to ask him to come in and play for you, mother. I think she likes it. And he comes and sits beside your bed and strums and sings a Natalie Merchant song he learned. Your oldest son who graduates from high school next year, while your youngest little prince dreams in another room. He has all the stars laughing only for him. The rhythm of blood, a perpetual tune in his chest. As your own rises and falls, a leaky raft at sea, and you drift far from everything you'll miss in their lives, far from anything resembling pity or regret. Eyes closed, resigned to never sighting land again. You listen with the faintest smile on your lips to this strange, wondrous music which seems to be flowing from somewhere deep inside of you, as the shy boy you always liked but never spoke to approaches and asks you for this dance. Well, this one's the very first poem in the book. It's called Oliver's Prologue. His sly smile, like his older brother's, not entirely innocent. We have trouble with goodbye. Far simpler to insult the heart's status quo, let someone else feel the draft and close that door. The way your parents lovingly chainsawed the furniture with their vitriolics those months before they sent you off to school. The house, a war zone after Dad flipped the car, driving home from yet another assignation, and kept right on commuting to and from his other life. All so you could take the scissors and neatly cut the cord with your own hand. Or the knife of unconditional trust your protege used to stab you in the back, enabling you to torch the remains of a job you loved and needed to leave. Or how the distance grew with her premonitions, forswearing mud pies and platitudes, a simple kiss behind the ear, deaf already to bird song, eyes blind to children liberating the yard, the long walk begun from her favorite porch into the dusty field beyond. There are no words for it. Sometimes you need to stop going and be gone. Forgotten, even if forgiveness is not an option. We both know Judas didn't give a shit about the silver, so don't take it personally. Should his brother teach him to call people bridges and ask if they have a lasso, knowing full well he has trouble with his R's and L's, which some may find amusing or even endearing, sung from a 3-year-old's mouth, or not. Either way, the river runs rogue as a rodeo when I say to you, my own dear reader, you are both a lasso to be slipped and a bridge to be crossed, then burned, like the page you must now turn. Here's a short little ditty called 6 Caveats Upon Entering the Kingdom of Superlatives. Insofar the door light behind you has closed its aperture. Down so deep, the steep ravine brings a bottomless sleep. Over so yonder hills, eyes fold more cloth than can be quilted. Above so high a throne, no deity could possibly survive the fall. Moon so bright fields glow like seas of love between continents of trees. Insomuch, less is more. Please, leave your dreams at the door. And just one more from this volume, excuse me. Since it is August, I think I'll read a poem. Called August. The long-awaited messenger finally arrives. In a month without mirrors, summer catches up with itself at last. Content to chill in the pale gold heat, delight in blue-tailed damsels skimming secrets on cellophane wings, only to lose them in cattails and duck grass, sweet whispers unweave every day's bleak, shimmering overtones. Of a lone bell in a modest country chapel where we married that now sings for another pair who fell in love yesterday morning, as if none ever tied the knot there before or will again. And between each ring, a peal of children's laughter from the nearby pond where your childhood friends with young families of their own flock, like egret, wildebeest, zebra, lion, gazelle, to the one watering hole for miles around, kids building aqueducts and sand monuments to summer, capturing crayfish and painted turtles in buckets, zookeepers for an afternoon, heat-struck parties swimming en masse to the raft, flotillas of inner tubes and water wings, and bigger boys grappling and cannonballs. A headlong child wades through wet limbs glistening, absorbed in the same idle fun that hasn't changed in 40 summers, of watchful mothers who fret for weeks and shirk in earnest rituals of sunscreen, unhitch their leads and unmuzzled tongues, let chins wag and run about everything in particular, under the Cavalier sun. Mothers and now fathers too, who knew and played with you, recognize your husband and son, yet won't say hello. Their memories too fresh, filled too close to the brim with all the kids there. Besides, what would they say? When every wild, wet child far from fading imagines no end to this day. Trees like druids encircle the pond, their long dark robes lengthen as parents warn in vain, trying to separate their own offspring from the mesmerized swarm. 10 minutes till we have to go. Why didn't anyone say, after best of luck, Godspeed, and a handful of rice, oh, and by the way, there will be some seriously deep shit to wade through. And I don't just mean the end of bliss. Would it have helped to unwrap that gift? Or is knowledge nothing but fear? Driving home at dusk through the village, you always ask to slow down as we pass the new lit windows, so you can catch a glimpse, albeit fleeting, of other families being themselves. Their masks hung on mudroom hooks, their faces luminous as dinner plates aglow with uneaten food, and conversations that couldn't possibly be anything like ours. And so we'll strike out for some new territory. I think someday I dream of living in a place where they don't observe daylight savings time. Such places do exist. This poem is called Daylight Saving Time. The adjustment, so slight in retrospect, a hiccup to oblige wars and retailers. Nothing to skew the space between pulses in your wrist, or rhythm of a sluggish dawn or overzealous dusk. Even so, I have to remind myself this morning to praise the stone-faced children arriving for school, their mute parents dropping them off out of patience for a life that promised something, the teachers walking to their classrooms who will do their best to pry open again the shining seam that sealed itself back up overnight. Praise the interim principal who keeps track of state truancy laws while fist-bumping seniors in the halls. Would it be too radical a nepotism to praise our own daughter for sleeping in and making us late, dragging us through her pre-7th grade primping ritual, rivaling Southern corporate belles who maintain makeup is synonymous with success, who, when she reflexively flicks on her favorite pop station the moment she climbs in the car a half hour after her first period started, I want to lace into and flood her computer-stunted world with natural light, pointing out that I'm not a taxi service and it sure would be nice not to have to make 3 trips for 3 kids who attend the same school. A point pointing nowhere, except an inevitable escalation of our shared dread for the wide, vertiginous expanse of day sprawled before us. Voices rising to a crescendo pitch in that claustrophobic enclosure behind windshield and dash. For the brief, hovering ether we inhabit between home and school, maybe our only moment alone together all day. When a stray zygote catches in my throat, and I think better of it. Better of her and what she faces walking through those doors. Better of the grass licked with late winter rain that's starting to show around the edges of the school. Better of Kelly Clarkson, praise patience and restraint. Better of a world not made with saints in mind. Better of her 12-year-old perfume. And I begin to praise every poise and perfection in a shy, booming voice from the back of the room. Praise her telling me to be sure to pick her up earlier than last time as she steps out onto the curb. Praise what we're waiting for not coming too soon. And I think I'll just end with a little rant. That nonetheless serves to remind me that we're all tourists here, just passing through. The other thing you really need to know about it is the Italian "che viene dal cuore" translates roughly into "it comes from the heart." And if you don't know what a Teletubby is, then you just were born at the wrong time, I guess. Taste. The Americanos at the next table are made of clay dust and rib bone. They have as much history as an episode of Teletubbies. The ambiance of this grotto took 3,000 years to create, not including the millennia it took to imagine. I'm going to hide under the table now and pretend I didn't hear that. Pretend I'm not from the same genus or planet. They want only the right gin, the right wine. They want the misto verde pronto, the friggin' chocolate ravioli in that order, and not the one that arrived in. What's that? You're all out of chocolate ravioli? Then why is it on the friggin' menu? Legend has it, he who offends the shadows of that cave, upon emerging from its mouth, finds himself minus one of his senses, misses the rusted apricot of dust, embalming the Duomo piazza, or the aromatic veil of rosemary and honeysuckle drifting like ghosts of virgins through blind passages, or soul-smooth cobbles, foot-worn by the dead's diurnal procession, or the gift of a private violin, quartet sifting Vivaldi from an open alley casement. Or as likely, in this Zupa del Giorno, the capacity to discriminate anything placed in the mouth beyond an extravagance of cardboard paste. The food here tonight? Delizioso, squisito, celestiale. Our server says, gratuity, che viene dal cuore. Remember when Poe makes tubby custard? What a friggin' waste. Thanks very much for listening.